to the fourth race of the Formula SimRacing World Championship for 2020, brought to you by SimLab and 3D Wrap. Today we're here for the Portuguese Grand Prix, the first time FSR has ever been to this circuit, for 74 laps today around this tight and twisty but also bumpy track. It features 2 DRS zones. There should be plenty of overtaking options, although the tyre wear is pretty high. SimRacing managed to get pole by 0.2 of a second, which is quite remarkable considering how close the rest of the field was. Good results can be noted for the Burst Esports cars, getting 3 out of the top 4 positions. Kirill Burkov continues his impressive return to the series in 7th place. Alex Siebel getting 3rd was also a really good result for him and Evolution Motorsports, who have slowly been increasing their performance as the season progresses. Some notable mentions are also Johan Quiegel down in 19th position, last of most of the qualifiers, as Alain Terzic in 20th. This is his first race and he was called up pretty late, hence him being slightly off the pace, making his debut. And the lights come on here in Portugal for the first ever time in Formula SimRacing. Yeah, SimRacing gets a pretty good launch coming down into turn number 1 and doesn't have to defend at all. But further in the background, Tom sadly runs into the back of Peter Burlak and also pushes off Kirill Burkov, who has to drop to the back of the field. Sadly, he loses his front wing and will have to go in for repairs. As we see from the replay, brakes a little bit too late, hitting the back of Burlak, who luckily didn't have too much damage from that. And Burkov was also pushed off in the process. Jim Priestis is one of the old wily foxes of FSR, and he manages to make a opportunistic move, getting past Dennis Jordan, who slightly went off. Lap 3 in Alain Terzic's debut hasn't gone too well so far, being at the back, but then he loses his wing and will have to retire from the race not long into his debut. Robin Panzer now battling with Janos Brakshock down into turn number 1, but Robin gets a little bit too close in the dirty air and has a little half spin, and that's going to push him towards the back, as the Swede has been struggling a little bit this season, and that really hasn't helped him at all. Now Janos Brakshock is battling Dennis Jordan, but he's on these medium compound tyres, so this is a really important move for his strategy, being the alternate one. Not too much happened in the first pit stop, and the 3 burst cars all come into the pit on the same lap, lap 18. Burlak and Callis actually managed to get a bit of an undercut, and this puts them in a really good position, and they actually both get ahead of Alex Siebel, who is slightly behind the burst cars. Siebel then on these slightly newer tyres gets a really good run on Sander Callas and makes a textbook move down into turn number 1. Much like his teammate Jordi Suarez was struggling a little bit on the exits of the corners, so the Singularity car not being too well in that situation this race, and he retires from the race on lap 22. Quiegel on the alternate strategy is now starting to hold up Jene Simicic, and these two have a really hard fight down into turn number 1. Simicic tries to go around the outside and Quiegel almost runs into the back. And Peter Burlak's trying to get involved with Hoyer and Davin Mocek, but goes in a little bit too deep. Bit of contact is made and he spins around. Unfortunately, his teammate had nowhere to go and the 2 edge cars make contact. And this will eventually lead to Peter Burlak's retirement. As you see from the replay, Priestis comes in, had absolutely nowhere to go, couldn't avoid running into his teammates. This is not good for the edge cars at all. Now Simicic is trying to get past Quiegel, but Quiegel again defends really hard, going down towards the wall in turn number 1. As Michi Hoyer is just waiting to see what happens between these two. Remember, Quiegel and Simicic had a little accident in turn number 1 towards the end of the race, and Simicic weaving there to show his displeasure at Quiegel's defending. Quiegel then finally decides to make a pit stop, and he goes for another set of the hard compound tyres. Simicic goes for a little spin, actually coming into turn number 6, and Hoyer in the dirty air just gets a little bit too close and goes for a half spin, spins around and manages to rejoin fairly safely, still in a decent position, but he does get overtaken by a couple of cars. This means that he has to make a slightly early pit stop for his second stop, and then a lap later his 2 teammates and Sander Callas also pit. So two-stop strategy here for most of the drivers today. Michi Hoyer is now trying to get an overtake on Sander Callas into turn number 6. Not always the best overtaking spot as the straight isn't too long, but he manages to make that work and make up one of the positions that he lost with that spin. Alex Siebel is also having a pretty good race at the moment as he makes his pit stop a few laps later. Simičić once again tries to get past Jeroen Kwikel and makes a move down into turn number 1. Two are battling really hard here as they finally manage to make the overtake work. This leaves Mocek is trying to get past, but Kwikel actually has a little bit of a mistake and Mocek manages to get past too. Hoy's now coming around the outside of one of the ground effect cars. This is going to push him out wide like we saw Dennis Jordan earlier, but this time Hoy actually spins instead, and as he rejoins, collects Janos Brakshock, who goes flying into the air as he hits the fence as well. So two mistakes there from Michi Hoyer unfortunately today. Kwikel then pits for the soft compound tyres, and he's going to be really fast towards the end of this race. Janos Mashuli capitalises on some contact between two cars there ahead, who's also trying to make some positions. Kwikel is now having to get through this field on the soft compound tyres. And remember, he started second last in this race, and he's now coming up to getting some points here today. As he's now battling with his sister teammates here, coming to turn number 2, and manages to make the move down the inside between turn 2 and 3. And now he has his teammate Janos Mashuli ahead of him. Then gets past with no ease as Lucas de Mello, who's now moved to ground effect for this race, gets around the outside of one of the HM engineering cars, but still a little bit of contact is made as they come through turn number 1 and 2 and manages to finally make that work. Now Jos Araneda is trying to have a go and get into the points, having this been a pretty good race for the ground effect cars so far. Kwikel's now making a move on Dennis Jordan as they come towards the end of this race. Only 8 laps to go, and Kwikel is looking to get some decent points, but the move is not done yet as he goes a little bit wide in turn 2 again as he did a few laps ago, and Jordan is giving him just enough room, but Kwikel finally managed to make the overtake work. Kwikel then has a textbook move on Danny Van Den Neet as well. It's looking like Kwikel might not lose too many points to Simičić, as remember he is looking good in the championship at the moment. Coming on to the last lap of the race, and Kwikel's trying to go around to the outside of Michi Hoyer, but Michi locks up a little bit, a contact is made. Kwikel goes for a little spin. Michi manages to get out of the way, but Jeroen has to wait for Jordan and Van Den Neet to come past. We'll see on the replay that Hoyer goes in just a little bit too deep, locks up, and goes too deep, hits Kwikel, and contact is made, which will give him a time penalty after the race. However, Yanni Simičić led David Mocek home for a comfortable burst 1-2 for the two sister teammates and extends his championship lead in gaining 25 points on Petter Burlak as Petter DNF'd. But Jos Araneda is trying to get a line ahead of Janos Mashuli, and he manages to get there just by thousandths of a second. So really good job there for Jos Araneda, who unfortunately would also receive a post-race penalty and not actually get those points. So notable mentions are David Mocek getting second and Alex Siebel getting a podium, showing that they are looking pretty good as we head towards the middle part of the season. Danny Van Den Neet also getting a personal best result as well, getting that 5th for NetRex, so really good result for him as well. Double top 5 for NetRex as well in 4th and 5th position, and notably Jeroen Kwikel getting up to 7th place in the end. Unfortunately had that contact with Michi Hoyer, who drops quite a way down the field due to his post-race penalty down in 12th position. So it seems like Yanni Simičić is looking pretty good for the championship at the moment, leading by 29 points for Jeroen Kwikel and 30 points to Petter Burlak. But there's also the two burst cars of Hoyer and Mocek just behind them. So I have to see what happens when we head to Azure next race. But looking at the constructors, two burst teams are still comfortably leading the way, 6 points between them. but they are over 20 points clear now of Evolution Motorsports, who are having a really close battle with HM Engineering Red and Edge Esports. Notably, all teams I should say, now have points, which is looking very good, and Luca Di Mello getting a nice result there in 8th for Ground Effect. Singularity have now split with Ghost Speed, so they are on their own, but they are sitting at the bottom with 3 points at the moment, but Jordi Suarez and Alain Terzic certainly have some potential to get more points later in the season. But as I said, we will be heading to the Azure GP on the 17th of May for the 5th race of the season, which will signify the halfway point already in the season, and after then we will get a good idea of who is going to be leading the championship as we get towards the end of the season. But until the 17th of May, this has been Formula SimRacing, brought to you by SimLab and 3D Wrap. But until next time, we wish you a very warm goodbye.